Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to our Chartres call. We're waiting for Apela in Maui. So, Garrison, as soon as Apela comes in, let me know. I want to welcome you to this Chartres call, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison with Ubiquity University, and we've been meeting every month for 16 years as we prepare ourselves for our annual pilgrimage to Chartres. For those of you who are new, Chartres is a place of great holiness, sacredness, and has been revered as a site with a particularly powerful telluric energy associated by the early Druids and up to the present day with the sacred feminine. And that is why each year we go to Chartres, and we've been having our monthly calls during that time. I think what we're going to do as we get started here is reverse our order as we're waiting for Apela and also Timothy. Those of you who've been in Chartres will remember Timothy from New Zealand. They'll come in for just a moment. But why don't we start, Lynn, with your star report, as we always do, and then we can possibly have Apela after you. So, Lynn, welcome. Tell us what's happening with the planet.
Hi, everyone. Well, I mean, all of us have went through the big squeeze of the two eclipses. And I mean, some of you will have read something I posted about the eclipses, about, we all remembered the incredible anxiety that we went through. And then this release at escaping the worst, almost at the very last minute. There's this sense that something could happen, that we didn't quite get completely poisoned and dragged under into the den of the dragon and its coils. And one of the things that's really wonderful this week is actually today there's about 6 planets in water signs, 3 planets in Scorpio, 2 in Pisces, and the moon in Cancer. And there's almost a very strong experience of emotional integration. And this coming week is actually one of the best weeks of the year in terms of up until now, everything felt very fraught and struggled and tense. And now things actually start to unfold, or we move into something that has a fluidity to it, that has the sense, yes, the world can move in the way that we would like it to move. And, I don't think that we felt that for a while. So that's, I don't know about you, Jim, but, or other people on the call, this sense of something being integrated. And last time I talked about Mars going retrograde, and Mars was on its station point in Gemini, and this whole idea of splitting things in two. And now as it goes retrograde, we've seen even in, I know that Banafsheh is going to talk to us about Iran, but even in the Ukraine, the Russians move back. This is a typical Mars in retrograde thing. You're supposed to pull back, leave space, reconsider, change the way you're moving or acting. And this applies to all of us. And so there's almost this sense of other pathways opening up inside us right now that take us inward, that take us in a much more profound direction of listening and communicating with ourselves, but in a way that really receives the truth about what's happening outside. Not just being pulled into reactivity, into automatic agreement, into assuming things are true when they're not true, but really being inside. And a colleague of mine said about Mars and Gemini something wonderful, which is that it's about wise speech, right? Being very aware of how words can split or divide us, but that the task really is to look at what happens with the words we use and how that can divide, and then how it can be wise speech that opens up options for us. So that's the period we're in, and basically the next high stress transit is the high stress day, let's say, is December 7th, when we have a full moon conjunct Mars. And that again, we might see things heating up or getting conflictual again. But I think right now, there's one of these rare moments of actually being able to release.
Good. Thank you, Lynn, so much, as always. I know in the United States, there's been a great sigh of release after the election, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But before we dive in, let's have Apela and Timothy from Maui, who are joining us for our invocation. Apela, Timothy.
Good morning. Well, we were a little late getting on. I didn't realize I had to register. And Timothy will reopen us, Lynn, after you've already opened us, with what we do in Chartres, with the dream work, with the Shruti, and then I'll do the invocation. Thank you. And the sound of the voice, the resonance, the pacing. We step forward on the path to musica, the fourth liberal art, the doorway of our heart, the place of stillness and silence, where the world of the past, the world of what shall be, meet in the breath of one, our community. So we begin. Mama, oh, I know all my relations.
Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Apela. Thank you, Lynn. It's so wonderful to be able to gather together each month and just feel the presence of the sacred as we do through Apela, Timothy, and know that the planets are swirling around us with energy and teachings and wisdom and guidance. If we open our hearts to the sound that they make through our beings. Let us begin just by greeting each other. I've asked Georg, we're going to break everyone into small groups and just take 5 minutes, as we do in Chartres, just to say hello and to renew our connection with each other. And then we'll reconvene and we'll begin our program. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And let us now say hello.
And go.
We'll get to it in a second here. Here we go.
Hi.
Are we in the group together?
I guess so.
No,
You,
you're in
me,
the
and
main
Georg.
room.
The
Excluded.
waiting room.
Because you're co-host, I excluded you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we'll do our own group.
Unless you want to participate.
So
That's all right.
Georg, the videos you put me in the Google folder, do I have to download them because you want to remove
Yes.
them from there? Okay. So give me.
Well, I have no plans on removing them anytime soon, but it would be good if we would download them as well.
Okay, sure. Thank you for doing that. Jim, are you going to talk now and then I'm going to
Yeah.
speak after you?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And then we'll, as we discussed.
Yeah. Perfect. And mine is not
Yeah.
very long. Although when I play the music, it'll be like 10 minutes, 15 minutes with
It's all right.
breathing.
It's all right.
Tomorrow, Carlos is going to co-pilot a Humanity Rising with me, because tomorrow is the only day of the week where I'm hosting, and then I'm on vacation next week from Tuesday to the Tuesday after.
Oh, okay.
Have a great vacation, Georg.
I wrote several emails already reminding everyone of the drill.
Well, every time you leave Humanity Rising, I proceed with fear and trembling.
Yeah, me too. It's difficult to relax. Knowing that someone else is fitting in.
You're the best, Georg. You are just the best. Everyone is a distant second.
Truly,
and I know they
truly.
try hard. Where are you going for your vacation?
We're going to a resort in Huatulco in Oaxaca, where we've already been before. It's just a normal little family hotel at the beach.
Oh, cool.
Wonderful.
The kids will love that.
Yeah, they do. I mean, last time she was too small to enjoy it, but now I think it would be very successful.
Yeah, yeah.
And now with Apela saying it's the perfect astrological moment to unwind and relax, I feel really that I chose the right week.
Oh,
Yeah.
what Lynn said, what Lynn was
Yeah,
saying.
she said that next week is like the best, like an extremely perfect week to unwind and reset yourself. Didn't she just say that?
Well,
Yeah.
even though I have Humanity Rising, I'm going to take that as a direct order from the universe.
Sounds good. You need it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Well, we're
you know,
going
this
until December 10th, then you have your well-deserved break as well.
the 16th. We go to the 16th.
Oh boy. This year we go to 16th. That's good to know.
I get
When
such
we come back?
January 4th, I think.
Okay.
Which I'm working on. That'll be a nice thing to think of you relaxing in
Okay.
beach, family hotel on a beach in
I'll
Mexico.
send you some photos of pina colada. I hope you can relax too, Banafsheh.
Oh yeah, I plan to.
I'll see what I can do. Okay, in 20 seconds.
How did we manage to be the first ones back?
Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Jim. Good to see you.
Very good to see you. David, very good to see you, my friend. And Amy, you're the only ones I can see on my screen. Good. Are we back?
Yes, people are rejoining. Yes, I think we're all back.
Good. Well, greetings again, everyone. It's so good to spend a few moments just connecting. And just when I see your faces and your names, I feel very happy and joyful. So I just want to appreciate everybody on this November day, the 13th of November. Our program is going to be along the following lines. I want to give an update about some of the world events that we've been covering that I think are shaping our Chartres community. Then Banafsheh will lead us into a meditation. We'll do our breathing, and then we'll discuss Musica and our pilgrimage to mystical Paris next year, and various other items. I want to touch on the movement around the Global Day of Apology, which is continuing to take shape. But I wanted to just begin by saying that there have been a couple seminal events in the last 30, 45 days. And I think the most important one happened for very mysterious reasons on the 16th of September. Now, that was the day that a young woman, 22 years old, Mahsa Amini, a Kurd, visiting Tehran with her family, was spotted by the morality police. She didn't have her hijab, the head covering on just right, and they proceeded to beat her to death. And like the death of George Floyd in May of 2020, the death of Mahsa Amini ignited a reverberation around Iran and, in fact, around the world that catalyzed a revolutionary movement in Iran that country has not seen since 1979, when the mullahs and Ayatollah Khomeini took the country down into a Islamic fundamentalist grip. And it was right an extraordinary moment. And what proceeded to happen is that young women all over began to take off their hijab. And the regime proceeded to beat them and imprison them and kill them by the scores. But they didn't stop. And the reason why this is important, it's the first time, certainly in my lifetime, and I think in modern history, where young women defying a regime have ignited revolutionary fervor. And one of the net results of this is that the regime in Iran has been exposed before the whole world as not only corrupt and violent, but a blasphemy against its own religion and against the people of Iran. And so we are seeing a turning point. Anytime a regime will start to kill its own children in a ruthless way, its time to be removed has come. It's also important to note that the recent election in the United States, which we all feared was going to signal the demise of democracy as we know it, we were saved from the abyss, and the exit polls demonstrated that the reason why the election went to enough Democrats to ensure at least control of the Senate. We're going to find out about the House of Representatives in a few days, was because of the Gen Zs, because of the young people, and also because of the women. So there's something happening in the kind of, would say, the global zeitgeist as we approach the time in 2024 where there's going to be more Gen Zs and millennials than boomers and Gen Ys. So we're experiencing a tectonic shift in the polity that is being led by young women and women generally, who are coming out to make their presence felt in a way that is very healthy and very abundant for the countries in which they're having impact, but also as an inspiration for the world. We highlighted all these things on Humanity Rising, as we always do. And I want to thank Banafsheh Sayyad, who brought it to our attention and began to speak to these issues and really herald the importance of what the young women were catalyzing there in Iran and around the world. So it's with deep thanks, Banafsheh, that I want to acknowledge you and thank you for what you've done to bring this to a global attention. She convened a 5-day program on Humanity Rising that included a global meditation with Marianne Williamson and Lynn McTaggart, and a program with V and others, really supporting what's happening and educating our community around these events that are painful to watch, excruciating to contemplate. But if we look at them right in the eye in a spirit of compassion, inspire us to deeper action to liberate the world. So I want to turn it over now to Banafsheh, who will lead us into our breathing and say a few words of update about what's going on over there. And then we'll talk about Musica and what's in store for next year. Banafsheh, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So nice to be with you all today. We are now approaching the 2-month mark since the uprising in Iran that began in the wake of the murder of Mahsa Amini, as Jim was pointing out. Despite the fact that the revolutionaries are protesting non-violently, only removing their hijab, dancing in the streets, and chanting slogans as acts of defiance, the criminal Islamic Republic continues to kill and imprison the protesters, whose average age is 15, after sexually abusing and raping many of them, all unarmed, simply asking for a better life, for their basic human rights. The regime has been attacking schools and prisons, beating children and prisoners to death. They've given ultimatums that the protests need to stop immediately, but these ultimatums and their brutal crackdowns only intensify the resistance. Protesters continue to persist, and every day is either marked by the death of innocents or it is the commemoration of the 40th day of the passing of an innocent. In Iran, it is customary to commemorate the 40th day of passing. And as if this is not heartbreaking enough, in most cases, the regime withholds the body of the people they kill until the family of the deceased agree to testify falsely about the death of their loved one, blaming it on natural causes or suicide. The family is also ordered to have a simple, quick burial in the presence of government officials and not host a big funeral that would attract large crowds, because the authorities are terrified of funerals and memorials becoming focal points of people gathering to cry out in pain against their atrocities. Many such funerals and memorials have become sites of major nonviolent protests, which the regime has broken up with great violence and aggression. Many teens have lost their lives attending the funeral or memorial of their friends. The death toll is close to 400, and more than 14,000 protesters have been arrested with either no or minimal contact with their family. Some are musicians, doctors who attended to injured protesters, attorneys who have spoken on behalf of the protesters, and school teachers who have refused to turn in school kids who have taken down images of the supreme leader Khamenei, the arch criminal. Families beg and plead with the officials to obtain some information about their imprisoned loved one, where they are detained, how they are doing, when will they be released. They even sleep outside of prison walls, waiting for a crumb of information. When they hear from officials, it is only to come back tomorrow. I want you to look at this heartbreaking clip of a mother whose young son was killed by the regime for speaking out against the brutality of the government, and whose daughter has been detained for more than 2 days now for no apparent reason. And I want you to know that this is her fourth visit to the intelligence office in Shiraz. Let's take a look. She says, I will tear down this door if you don't open. I need to know where my daughter is. You've killed my son. You now have my daughter. This is many hours later. And countless hours later. I'm now going to ask you to join me in the breathing, the coherent breathing. and hoping that many a new life will emerge from the tears of the mothers grieving the suffering and the slaughter of their heroic daughters and sons who are denied even a simple burial with honor. The tears of a whole nation weeping for their young ones whose precious life is taken. May their death not have been in vain. Let's now go into the coherent breathing or the love breath practice that has been our ritual for some time now. Those of you who are new to these gatherings, this is the slow nasal breathing that dedicates about 5.5 seconds to the inhale and 5.5 seconds to the exhale, bringing a balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic aspects of the autonomic nervous system, the doing yang and the being yin aspects of ourselves. I'm going to ask you to coordinate your breathing to the sound of the bells that we will be hearing. You can remain still or move your body as you breathe. And I invite us to feel our hearts and breathe together in the name of love, in reverence to Ma, the Great Mother, and beam the light of love and protection to the brave girls and boys, women and men in Iran who are standing up for the right to live as free human beings, empowering them, energizing them with our energy, letting them feel our support and our allegiance. You can close your eyes if you wish. And can you please play the music? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. The fourth liberal art of musica corresponds to the heart. And oftentimes it's through heartbreak that we feel our heart, which is the doorway to the infinite. The song Baraye, which means for, F-O-R, by Shervin Hajipur, that has united the hearts of millions of Iranians and has become an anthem for the Iranian Revolution, sang from the streets of Tehran to the streets of Los Angeles, is what I would love to play for you now. Shervin was arrested for this song, and he was then freed after a forced public confession. There are other musicians who have not been afforded this opportunity, like Tumaj Salehi, the rapper who has been in prison. So let's take a listen. Let's take a listen and stay in our hearts as we listen.
برای توی کوچه رقصیدن، برای ترسیدن به وقت بوسیدن، برای خواهرم، خواهرت، خواهرامون، برای تغییر مغزها که پوسیدن، برای شرمندگی، برای بیپولی، برای حسرت یک زندگی معمولی، برای کودک زباله‌گرد و آرزوهاش، برای این اقتصاد دستوری، برای این هوای آلوده، برای ولیعصر و درختای فرسوده، برای پیروز و احتمال انقراضش، برای سگهای بیگناه ممنوعه، برای گریه های بیوقفه، برای تصویر تکرار این لحظه، برای چهره ای که میخنده، برای دانش آموزا، برای آینده، برای این بهشت اجباری، برای نخبه های زندانی، برای کودکان افغانی، برای این همه برای غیر تکراری، برای این همه شعارهای تو خالی، برای آوار خونه های پوشالی، برای احساس آرامش، برای خورشید پس از شبای طولانی، برای غرصای اعصاب و بیخوابی، برای مرد میهن آبادی، برای دختری که آرزو داشت پسر بود، برای زن زندگی آزادی، برای آزادی، برای آزادی، برای آزادی.
Power of music. The power of music. And I just want to add, as the women of Iran liberate themselves and step more fully into living their authentic selves, they not only inspire the liberation of women in other parts of the world and even pave the way, the men in Iran and other parts of the world can also step into their authentic selves more readily, all of us removing our hijab. It's the Great Mother guiding us with the slogan, Zan, Zendegi, Azadi, Mard, Mihan, Abadi, woman, life, freedom, man, motherland, prosperity. Our next gathering in Chartres in summer of 2023 is the Waves of Love, the healing music of the spheres. And now I would like to turn it over to you, Jim, to tell us more about our coming together in Chartres next year.
Thank you, Banafsheh. the juxtaposition of the mother in agony pounding on the gates of the prison, having lost a daughter and a son to the regime. And then the beautiful voice of the young man. It's powerful, everyone, the pathos of our world right now. And as we just felt, as we listened to the music, our emotions surfaced, our compassion surfaced. And these are all the reasons why the fourth liberal art, which is at the center of the 7 liberal arts, with 3 on one side and 3 on the other, but at the very heart is musica. Because sound is what we are. We are sound. We're frequencies of sound in geometric shapes, pulses of energy that manifest into the material world, but remain sound. Music, poetry, dance happened long before words and prose. And that is what we're going to contemplate next year in Chartres. We have a very exciting program that is in development. The first thing I want to say is that the dates are not in August as they were this past year, but are going to be in July. And so mark your calendars between the 2nd and the 8th of July in Chartres for musica, again, a 7-day program. And we are going to be meeting this year under the aegis of the sun and the philosopher Pythagoras, even as a few months ago in August for Rhetorica, we met under the aegis of the planet Venus and under the goddess Aphrodite. Musica is held under the aegis of the sun. And the reason for this is that it was Pythagoras who actually invented the first 4 of the liberal arts, starting with musica, and then arithmetica, and then geometrica, and then astronomica. He was the philosopher extraordinaire, possibly the most brilliant philosopher of all time, who could sit so quietly in himself that he could actually hear the sound of the other planets. And it was Pythagoras that discerned for the first time from a scientific point of view that the entire cosmos is constructed by arithmetic equations in geometric shapes that emit sound. It's an extraordinary insight that has shaped all of scientific inquiry, that it is possible for human beings to understand the cosmos in a rational way. And that was the gift of Pythagoras to the world. And musica was where he began. You probably have all heard the story of Pythagoras in ancient Greece. He was born on the island of Samos, and he was the one that discovered the octaves, that if you take a string and pluck it, and then put the string in half and pluck it again, and half and pluck it again, they form octaves of notes. And that was his original insight, that the universe was very carefully constructed, and that the sound is at the heart of our greatest understanding. And that's why music and poetry and dancing to music is the most primordial way that human beings, think of the shamans with their drums. You think of the Native Americans with the sun dance. That is from time immemorial. You think of Timothy at the beginning of the program today. He just created sound. And out of the sound, you can feel that your body starts to reverberate with emotions and thoughts and imaginations. And it was out of the sound that Apela's invocation came to us. So that's what we're going to be delving into next year. And we're very pleased to be able to announce today that our lead teacher will be Chloe Goodchild. She's world famous, as many of you know. She is a close friend of Andrew Harvey's. And in fact, when we were talking with Andrew about who would be the best person to lead us in Musica, he said without hesitation, it's Chloe. And she has a very interesting story. She had an issue with deafness when she was a little girl. So she understood the importance of sound and the way sound began to shape her mystical path that took her all over Europe and over to India and the Far East, down into Egypt to learn the different aspects of tonality. And out of that came her organization, The Naked Voice. She uses voice in a way that is both magical and healing and transformational. You remember during our time there in August, Carrie had her saxophone and joined Ruth in the cathedral. Well, Carrie will be back, and we're going to be inviting other musicians as we go along to join us in Chartres, so that over the 7 days, within the context of our rituals down into the crypt and walking the labyrinth and going down to the mother tree and our ceremonies in there at the Maison Saint-Yves, we will be having sound baths and sound therapies so that in the course of the 7 days together, even as this past time, we really were contained by apology, reconciliation, and healing as a way to regenerate love. So in Musica, we're going to be engaging in all kinds of sound healings, both through instrument and voice, and experiencing the cathedral as a sound box, a music box, because that was its essential construction. Chartres Cathedral is both a book and a musical box. And that's what we're going to be contemplating. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful healing time together between July 2nd and July 8th. And we're going to be sending out the syllabus over the next couple of days to all of you. And then I wanted to also provide some further details about our pilgrimage, which is going to follow Musica between the 9th and the 15th of July. Those of us will be limited to about 20 people because moving around Paris in a group larger than 20 can be very challenging. And we're going to be having as our lead teacher for Mystical Paris, Andrew Harvey, who spent much of his early life in Paris, is fluent in French, and had his initial spiritual awakenings in very, very profound ways in that city, knows the ancient quarters of Paris intimately. And he's going to be leading us on a pilgrimage to Mystical Paris. We've done it before, and we thought for 2023, as we're just all getting our bearings as we come out of the pandemic, it would be good to stay close to Chartres, but we have other pilgrimages that we're contemplating that we'll be announcing over the next couple of months. But we wanted to let everybody know that we've been thinking very carefully about what we do in 2023, the new dates for our activities, and the power of the faculty that we're bringing to bear on our annual immersion for Ubiquity University and our Wisdom School and our Chartres Academy, as we make pilgrimage together to a place which above all represents the feminine. Paris is the only city in the world that at least I know about that is consciously dedicated and embodies the feminine. It's very interesting if you think of the French language, the elegance of the French language, the sacredness of Chartres with the divine feminine, the feminine qualities of Paris. It's because the telluric energies in that part of the world are unusually attuned to the sound of the feminine. And that's why we go there. And that's what we're going to be contemplating next year. So I wanted to end a little bit early. I'd like to open it up to any questions or comments that anybody might have as we take, say, another 5 minutes before we close. Anything that anybody wants to add? One thing that I will also bring in is that on December 10th, before we conclude our year, which has been dedicated to Aphrodite, we're going to have Mariam Sayyad give us a workshop on the adoration of Aphrodite. So all of you who came to Rhetorica and engaged in the adoration of Aphrodite, this will be a final opportunity to all gather together with a mythologist who studied Aphrodite very, very deeply. And I'll put the link in the chat box, but we'll also be sending it out to everybody. That'll be at 10 o'clock Pacific time on Saturday morning, the 10th of December. But any comments from any of the faculty, Banafsheh, Apela, Lynn, or any of you others about anything that we've discussed today, whether it's what's happening in Iran or what's going to happen next year? Please just unmute yourself and speak.
I just wanted to say that the newsletter that came out for December also had Miriam Saad's webinar in that, of course, so you already know about it if you have the newsletter.
Thank you, Victoria. Victoria, as you all may know, is our Dean of Students. She's a wonderful presence on our team. Anyone else? Well, I'll take, Uta, do you want to say something? Yes, not. Well, we'll take silence as assent in this case, everyone. So good to be with you all. And we hope to see you on our December community call on the 11th of December. Chloe Goodchild will be making a presentation about what she has in store for Chartres next year. As I indicated, on the Saturday, we'll be having our final course of the year with the adoration of Aphrodite. And then next year, the 2nd to the 8th of July for Musica, and the 9th through the 15th of July for Mystical Paris. Banafsheh, do you want to give us a final blessing before we bring this to a close?
Well, I would like to go back to what Lynn was saying about the week ahead and just wish for everyone, for all of us, for our whole world, a time of really going in and finding some peace, some respite, from the turmoil, from the turbulence. And I also wish that all the energy that we have been sending to our sisters and brothers in Iran can be felt by them, that we are all holding hands across the world. Thank you, everyone, for your beautiful hearts, for your energy, for your dedication to truth, goodness, and beauty. May you be guided by the Great Mother.
Mm.
Thank you, Banafsheh. Thank you, everyone. That brings our session to a close for today. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to see all of you, your smiling faces, and just to feel resonance through the sound of our breathing and the sounds of the music of the spheres. Bye for now.
Please unmute yourself and send love. So much love to you.
Thank
you.
Sending love.
Hey, Bree.
Some love. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great smile.
Everybody.
Oh my God.
Thank
We all came
you.
alive.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna,
Hey.
okay, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. See.